All right, Elaine, as always, thank you so much for stopping by. Let's just start with where we are here. We obviously have a battle. It appears to be over taxes. What are your thoughts on what you've heard from both sides?
The Senate's plan was, to some extent, a more reform-minded plan, in that Senate leadership early on said, we do need to raise revenues to fill a portion of this budget gap, but let's do it in a way that really leaves the state's tax system, very outdated tax system, better off. So they were going to do some things that have been recommended by a lot of study commissions over the years, very bipartisan study commissions. Broaden the base of personal income taxes and lower rates. Broaden the sales tax to include a lot of services and digital downloads and things, and lower that rate somewhat. And also clean up some things on the business tax end of things. So they had those three components. The House had a few elements of modernization. Broaden the sales tax base a little bit to a few more services, but nothing to the extent of the state. And they were actually going to increase the sales tax rate a little bit, rather than lowering it. They were only, and in terms of the income taxes, they weren't going to broaden the base a lot. Instead, they were going to put a couple of top income tax rates on basically households earning over $200,000 a year. Then they were going to do some things on the business tax end, some similar to the Senate. Broaden the franchise tax to also apply to LLCs. Close some corporate tax loopholes. The House was more aggressive, and in my opinion in a good way, about closing some corporate tax loopholes that we've known for many years in North Carolina we needed to close. So there were really good elements in both of them. Because I think you could put these two plans together in a reasonable way that would raise revenues to fill about, let's say, a third of the state's budget shortfall. You have a situation where gross state product might be shrinking 3 to 5%, but where tax revenues are dropping off by record amounts, 10 to 20%, falling much faster than the economy's falling, and that's because the tax system's so out of date. So now is the time to fix the system so that the next time we have a recession, sure, revenues will go down, but they won't necessarily just plummet like they are now, which is forcing us to consider these things we didn't realize a year ago we'd be even considering. Laying off thousands of teachers and teachers as teaching assistants, and maybe not allowing, unemployed workers to enroll in the community college system because they can't handle more students, all of those things. If we had a more stable tax system, we might not have to consider some of the things we've had to consider this year. Right now, under the budget where we are raising substantial revenue, we're still going to be cutting teaching assistants in our state's classrooms by 25%. And yes, I hear some people say, well, we need to divert some of these other funds and we need to end some of these things that don't work. Well, when you start looking at the actual specific funds and programs that they think are wasteful or inefficient, there's just not big numbers there. They are not putting forward proposals that get you anywhere near filling a $3 billion budget gap.
Okay, well, it'll be interesting to follow. Thank you so much for bringing your insight.
Thank you.
All right.